Hey guys, this is Will. Welcome to episode 2 review of Survivor Winners at War. Um, this episode was very quick, very fast. Let's first off start with the Edge of Extinction because that was a very good note to start off on. And I have one complaint. Very kudos for Natalie for finding the advantage in selling it to Jeremy as expected because they're allies. But Amber, she's just sitting there, and I mean, I like those two because they're funny. They're funny on Instagram and all that stuff. But she's just sitting there and going, "Oh well, I can't figure out the clue, so I'm gonna give up and not, continue looking." You're competing against somebody. Go and look for the advantage. Don't give up because that can help you get back in the game, and that can also help Rob on the other side. And case in point, I mean, who knows? He'll probably find another crazy way to avoid tribal council to, next week, because I truthfully believe that he can. But that advantage that was given to Jeremy can really help him get out of a bind, and he doesn't have it because she wouldn't, she gave up finding it too early. So there's that. Now, can we just talk about Tony's ladder? And I know that Kim found an idol on the red team, but let's just talk about his ladder real quick, because his ladder is like the weirdest thing I've ever seen. It has no purpose to the episode, whatsoever. But it just is so funny to look at because he's going and climbing this unsturdy ladder that I wouldn't want to climb. If I was anybody, I wouldn't want to do any of that. So I don't understand, why he did that, but it was so funny. Probably because he just wanted something to do, but they're all trying to test this thing out, and all they get out of it is a coconut. So, I mean, I really like Tony's humor, and I hope he sticks around for a bit. Which, based off of the Blue Tribe trajectory, might have him stick around for a bit, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. And, so Kim ends up finding an idol now while we're over on the red side. Now, two things about this idol. You have to play it as a pair, which I think is much more ingenious because, that way nobody really has like a full-blown idol at the beginning of the game, because that's a little just overpowered. And I think that it makes it more interesting because that means you have to work together with somebody. Now, Kim gave it to Sophie, which is the most idiotic thing that you could do, because here she is before that talking about climbing from the bottom, getting getting information and having to claw her way back up because she's never had to do that before, because in one world she didn't have to do that. Because she dominated that entire season. So, but let me tell you this. If you were to give an idol, you wouldn't give an idol to somebody and maybe she didn't know Sophie was her enemy, but supposedly you wouldn't give your idol to somebody you may be enemies with. You would give it to somebody who you know is not your enemy. Like Tyson. I would have just found Tyson and gone over to him and said, "Hey, here's half an idol and we need to play it together, and it protects one of us, so we need to trick that other side into thinking that we don't have it, so that we can blindside them and get one of them out." Which would be the proper way of doing things. But instead she hands Sophie the idol, so now that group knows that she has one, and she's probably going to pay for that the second they go to tribal, which I'm hoping is next week. Because I just want Sandra, gone, because she's already won twice. I want somebody else to win twice. But yeah, so there was that, and then there's the whole cops arrest thing from between Sarah and Tony, which I find ingenious. And if they don't get found out, that might be a very powerful duo there on that beach, which they don't really have to worry about enacting quite yet because they haven't been to tribal council very much, other than to vote out Amber, which was an easy vote out. So we'll see who they end up targeting when they actually do go to tribal. Hopefully it's Sandra. Hint, hint. So, now we go to the immunity challenge, which is both an immunity and a reward. The reward is basically food and like comfort and spices and just normal things that you would eat. So they're doing this challenge and they have to bring this wheelbarrow around, which is probably really heavy, and they have to assemble it, move it, disassemble it, and then assemble it again and get the pieces to the puzzle back out. Right? So the blue tribe isn't very strong. I mean, they seem to be like kind of losing the red tribe in strength. So my first reaction to that is, why aren't Boston Rob and Sandra being a part of it? Because I thought you can sit out the same person twice. But I'm thinking to myself, oh well, they're actually on the puzzle, so so this is good, right? And I'm thinking, Rob's got this because he's good at puzzles, right? So so it's probably gonna be their victory because he's good at that. So the blue team's behind. They get to the puzzle, and what ends up happening is, even though Rob gets off to a strong start, and it looks like he's really cranking this out, for some weird reason, they decide to organize the pieces in a way where it costs them time, and probably if they didn't do that, they'd be okay, and they wouldn't have to go to tribal, and they would have gotten immunity for the week. So, and it's somewhat Denise's fault, but I view it more as a Rob fault. But he has much grander moments in the episode, so we'll get to those later. Now, Denise and Adam and Ben are kind of like in a love triangle right now, because what happened is Denise went out with Ben to find a idol. So he's teaching her, which he thinks will help in the social game, which it might. So she ends up finding one, and the only thing is that it's one of those two have ones where you have to give the other half away. So she gives the other half to Adam because Adam's her ally, right? It's all good. So, but see, here's the weird thing. Ben was with her when she went to get the idol, so now he knows about it. So that's why I'm calling it a love triangle, because you technically need both parties to agree. Plus, you need you don't want to upset Ben because he knows you have it, so you don't want that information to get out. Plus, Ben is not very much the secretive type for information. So you can already see that happening. And it's it's a very weird dynamic there. And the fact that that moments before this, and before Adam calms Denise down, she was planning on giving him the Parvati, and I'm like, no, don't give it to Parv. That's a bad idea. That's a horrible idea. Why would you ever? Because Parvati is like one of the big three, as I like to call it, and as many people like to call it, which consists of Rob, Sandra, and Parvati, because they're the top 3 players that have ever played this game, in my opinion, and many others. So it's interesting because why would you ever give her an idol? Why would you give her anything? Why would you give her information if you know she's a big threat, and unless you want to work with her, which is risky. I mean, the only reason Rob and her are working together because they're number 1 and number 2, or number 2 and number 1. So I mean, they have to in order to survive. So because they're famous, they're very famous because of the show. So they have to. But I don't know why Denise would even toy with the idea of doing that. And here's the other thing, is the fact that that Jeremy now has an advantage to skip tribal council. There's 3 advantages over in the game right now. 1, Kim has, which she kind of gave away to Sophie. 2, the idol that Adam and Denise have. And 3, the advantage that allows Jeremy to skip tribal. Now, the interesting thing about this is that Danny, the person that's in the old school alliance, is not quite happy with Rob and Parvati, so she decides to go over to Ethan, discuss voting out Parvati. But then Ben's like standing like 2 feet away from that, so he's hearing everything, and you don't want to give anything away. So Ethan's trying to shut her up real quickly, and that's that's like damage control right there and everything. And then you have her not only doing that, but then going to Rob and saying, "Oh, do you want to vote out Parvati?" And he goes, "Why would I ever? Because I don't know you, and even though you're an old schooler, you're not as you're not as good as me, and I need Parvati. So why would I ever vote her out over you?" And and that's just the way that went. So now the vote is from switched to Denise because they want to get her out, and the new schoolers want to get an old schooler out. So it's kind of like a little cranky compromise. And the new schoolers are trying to target the old schoolers, which means they're trying to target Parvati and Rob. But those 2 have tricks up their sleeves, so I wouldn't be surprised if they found some way to skate past the vote next week. Especially Rob. I'm not sure Parvati has the skills to skate past it, but based off of what he did in the tribal, which I'm getting to now, he most certainly still has the skills to frighten the heck out of people. So he knows that something's up. So they go to tribal, they sit down, and they talk normally for a few minutes, and then they end up talking about idols, right? And he's going, okay, so so everyone's whispering. Ben's like, what's the point of having an idol? He's trying to deflect it, and then all of a sudden Rob's like, okay, whoever has the idol, we need to all open our bags and figure this out right away. You would think that nobody would do that, right? I think nobody would ever do that in the history of the game, especially since these are like Redemption Island tactics where he made his tribe do this, and this is something I would expect to see out of that season, not a winter season where they're all supposedly smart. But the fear of God was struck in them, like like here, I'm gonna kick you out if you don't comply. So they actually all open up their bags, Adam and Denise are trying to hide it behind their backs. I'm not sure if they were successful or not. We'll see. We'll see if they were, next episode. But it was just crazy. It's like, it's like he caused them to all like, implode and and do all that. And the fact that they got Denise out, but Rob and Parvati were kind of already considering to get her out. And the fact that they didn't even, they weren't really heavily considered. I mean, Parvati got 3 votes, but it was between her, her and Denise, which, is fine. But that was a. We don't want to get Parvati out too soon because what if she's mad at us? What if she comes back or Rob comes back to to get us, and we really need to watch our backs with that. Right? We really need to watch our backs and, not rock the boat too quickly. Next week is episode 3, and the promo for that showed that Adam is trying to hatch a scheme to get Rob and Parvati, or it could be Sandro because of the immunity challenge. I really hope that it is Sandro next week, and that they just lose the immunity challenge and it goes to the edge of extinction. That'd be sweet and awesome. And I have a really good feeling that Rob will skate by this next vote based off of other promos and stuff that they showed 6 months ago. If you know what I'm talking about, some of you may know what I'm talking about, some of you may not. And a few interviews that Rob and Amber have done. But I have a really good feeling that he finds another crazy way how to escape past this, because right now they're all scared of his capabilities. So they're all wondering to themselves, how can we get him? But we don't want to get him because we don't want to get him pissed. I mean, he was pissed that Amber was out, and that's just one thing, and that's an extra determination and stuff to win this game. So he's not gonna roll over and die. That's just not gonna happen. I mean, even if someone has an idol and he knows that there's an idol out there now, it'd be great, if you could find a way to flip it on the new scholars and take them out very systematically, and force them to use the idol that they have in their possession, and also force Jeremy to use his advantage, because what you could do is you could say, oh, hey, Jeremy, if you want to target Parvati, or if you want to target a big threat that's not me, you can put me out of Tribal and just, that way you have one threat and you have it locked down, and I'm not there to protect them. So he could do that to get rid of the advantage. And then there's still Amber on the edge of extinction if she gets her butt moving. So there's that. So, I mean, there's multiple ways that he could still be in here, still be in the main game by the end of next week. I really think he has the capability to do so, and he's proven that he is deserving of the number 1 spot, in this game. So I really think that he's not quite done yet. And he seemed very happy in the interviews of and everything. So I don't think he's quite done yet. We'll see what the future holds with that. I will be doing videos next week for episode 3. And until then, guys, have a fun and fantastic day.